Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of Tales from the Fandom. It is the month of September, and I can hardly believe that this year has gone by so quickly, especially after last year. But that is neither here nor there. For the first time in over 4 years, I am lucky and honored to have not one, but two people guesting on the same episode. And I have Double Trouble Cosplay, but you might know them better as Liv and Liz. Liv and Liz, how are you doing today?
Hi, it's good to be here and hang out and chat with you for a little bit. So I'm doing well. How about you, Liz?
I'm doing great. Excited to chat about fandoms and cosplay.
I can't believe we were talking before we started recording that we have had this in the works since probably about January or February, but schedules and timing and just everything, it's all wackadoodle this year. So here we are. We're sitting down a little bit before September to record this episode, but it's just here it is. I'm so excited.
We are too. Thanks so much for having us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, the anticipation has been building, and today is the day.
Now, for those who are listening, Liv and Liz have graciously, because they're twins, twin cosplayers, and they do wonderful cosplays. Check out their Instagram. But we'll be talking about more of that later. Liv will be talking first. Liz will be talking second. And then if you happen to hear them talking back and forth, it's not your imagination. They're actually having a conversation, and it's not just one person pretending to be two people. So now that we've got that out of the way, one of the fandoms that you both are into, because I have both of you here, so we're going to be talking about fandoms that you both are really into. But one is one that I don't believe I've ever talked about on this podcast before, and that is the movie Mad Max Fury Road.
Whoop whoop. Oh my gosh, I'm rubbing my hands together because we could do an entire episode on just Mad Max Fury Road, which we won't because that would be a lot. But oh my gosh, yeah, this is how would I describe it? I guess like our creme de la creme. Like we love Mad Max Fury Road a lot.
Yes. It is our favorite of favorites.
Are you originally fans of like the Mel Gibson Mad Max movies previously, or was it this movie that was like, "Hey, I'm Mad Max and I'm going to make you love me"?
Well, it's so funny you would say that because I Olivia or sorry, let me start that over. So it's funny you would ask that because in college I studied film. And so I remember it was like, I think my sophomore year of college, I had finished the semester. I was feeling really confident. And I wanted to go see a movie. So I invited Liz and one of our mutual friends to go see it. I had watched like half of a trailer and was kind of like, this looks interesting. I had no previous experience with the Mel Gibson Mad Max series. We went in, it was like hair blown back roller coaster ride of the century. And then I think, if I'm remembering right, Liz, you and I went and saw it every other day that week. I spent a ridiculous amount of money to go see that in 3D. I'm like embarrassed about how much money I spent that week because I just kept having to see it. I couldn't stop seeing it in theaters. It was so much fun.
Yeah, I think you're right. If I remember correctly, it was you had invited myself and our mutual friend, and I even remember sitting down thinking, I'm doing this because I want to hang out with some friends. I'm not very interested in actually going to see this. I had never seen a trailer. I didn't know what we were really sitting down to watch. Which, with having a close friend or let alone a sibling in the film world, you typically get exposed to a lot of different and interesting things that you normally wouldn't reach for or look into. But at the end, I think the very next day we got up early and went to an early like 10 a.m. showing the next day at a theater in a different area that we were closer to. I think we were traveling that day, but we went. Yeah, and after that, it was. I think we saw it probably six times in theaters when it was initially released, and then they came out with a re-release of it in what they called shiny and chrome, which is a fancy way of saying black and white with I think a bunch of our college friends that
Mhm.
we found an area where we were all close and we could go watch it again, and that was a blast because it was full of a lot of Mad Max fans, and Mad Max fans can get a little rowdy sometimes, so it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a good showing. I really enjoyed that one.
is definitely a movie that caught me off guard because I didn't see it in theaters, but I heard so many good things about it, and I'd never seen the Mel Gibson movies at all. But you get it through like the osmosis of just hearing about it, and like Welcome to the Thunderdome, and you hear the stories that people talk about when, and you learn about Mad Max through other people. I'd never seen it, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna watch this movie on. I think I had downloaded it or was watching it streaming somewhere, and I couldn't believe it. I was blown away by what I watched, and I've watched it a couple of times now, and each time is just it's so it's one of those movies where even the smallest things that are going on, like you're watching it just to see how did they do that? Like what is going on here? And just seeing the characters and the life that they bring to this movie is just incredible.
I wholeheartedly agree. Yeah, we after we saw it a few times, like, well, not more than a few times. After we'd seen it like 7 times, we then started just rewatching the bonus features and just absorbing any information we could on its creation, knowing that so much of it is practical effects, so on like the same or more so than like Jurassic Park with I'm trying to think of a specific moment. I guess I don't want to spoil for anyone, so I guess spoiler alert. There are characters in the film called polecats, and they're essentially like people dangling onto poles that swing back and forth on super fast moving cars. And George Miller really wanted that to be real, didn't want it to be CGI. And so he hired Cirque du Soleil performers to be on those poles so that way they would be safe and they were familiar with it, no additional training really. And I mean, it really sells it. Those things are, those people are super spooky. And you're just, I mean, who thinks of that? So creative and different. It's not just people chasing each other in cars, it's people chasing each other on poles on cars and, playing the drums or shooting fire out of their guitars. I mean, it's just like insane insanity, but really fun insanity.
Yes, yes. I think of the times where we've had I think reluctant friends. Finally, we convinced them to sit down in front of the screen and watch this film, and by the end, they go, "I don't get it, but I get it. I'm captivated." I feel like that's the perfect word, at least for me, when I watched that film initially. Was I was just captivated, and it took a hold of me, and I hadn't been this excited about a world. I love world building. I love lore. I love the deep things in film and in stories that unless you dive deeper into it, it might be something that builds to the illusion, but you might only see it for a couple seconds or it might only be referenced in one scene. I hadn't gotten that excited about a world until since Lord of the Rings when that first was coming out. That was the only other film that I can and book series that I can think of that I was super excited about. Just the whole encompassing universe that it's in.
I totally agree, and I'm curious about what hooked both of you initially because you've talked about obviously the practical effects which are amazing. We have wonderful characters. We've got a great storyline, multiple storylines that are going on. In fact, the cinematography and what is going on, the lore and world building, like you talked about, Liz. But what hooked you on that first showing that made you go, I need to see this 7 or 8 more times in the movie theater and then, just keep watching it?
Yeah, that's such a great question. I feel like, hmm, I want to make sure I say this exactly how I feel because I have a lot of feelings about this movie. Um, I think it was because it was so different from what I had been seeing. Without, I'm not in no way trying to be disrespectful towards the film, like going to school for film or enjoying film in general. But I had never seen a movie quite like that, as far as like the intensity, the the way the story was told, and then on a more, I guess, slightly more casual, if that's the right word, way of looking at it. the prop department and the wardrobe department just like knocked this thing out of the park. I think if I remember correctly too, this is a little bit of an aside, but my film school would put on an Academy Awards party every year. And so I went the year that Mad Max Fury Road had been nominated. And I was still new to the school, so I was a little shy. So I sat in like the back row with like one of my friends who I dragged along because I didn't want to go by myself. And every time that film won an Academy Award, so I think it won on Best Sound Design, Editing, Wardrobe, and Props. I stood up and like screamed and I yelled like witness me and like and people were turning and staring at me in their seats like why is this girl getting so hyped for this movie? But yeah, I mean, as you know, we're cosplayers, so we loved. I don't want to speak for you, Liz, but I certainly loved all the costumes and the props. I mean, if I could get my hands on just one of them, even if it was like a rag they used to like clean one of the cars, I would have I pay top dollar for that, and I'm not ashamed to admit it.
That is a really interesting question. And as Liv was talking, I was thinking, I agree with everything she was saying, but I'm just trying to picture how I was reacting when I first saw it, because now I know so much more about it than initially. I definitely do think there's a lot to this world, and I hadn't actually known that there were other Mad Max movies. I remember turning to the friend that we went with, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, that was amazing!" And he said, "Well, there are other films." I went, "There are other ones?" I just remember being so excited. It was like Christmas morning. I was like, "Oh my gosh, there's more of them!" And I started watching them, but they definitely had a different overall energy to them than that one. So I definitely feel like the energy I also just loved. I loved the characters. I loved how strange and different they were. And Furiosa was a very inspiring character to me, and the wives were also just incredible to me. I just was captivated by their characters. They were just their responses to things. The many mothers that we meet later on in the film when they're on their road to the green place later on in the film, I also found to be fascinating. So I feel like as someone who is a woman and identifies as a woman, it was inspiring to see many different the how wide range and encompassing that word can be for so many people. There were women that were considered like tough and strong, and then there were ones that were sweet and kind, and it's living in this very very strange world, and there was this beautiful union between all of them. So as someone who identifies as a feminist, it was fascinating to me to watch that and seeing it on the screen. I remember that there was a lot of talk with major feminist leaders when making this film. They wanted to make sure that they did feminism right in that way.
I want to talk about that just for a second, since you brought it up, because I've been doing the podcast since 2016. So Mad Max Fury Road came out a year before the podcast started, and a number of conversations that I had with a lot of my guests at the beginning was female representation in movies, whether it was, and specifically we had talked about like the Disney, Star Wars, Marvel umbrella of certain Disney characters, Esmeralda Kida from Atlantis, or Black Widow from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or from Star Wars, like Rey. This was when Force Awakens came out. Is that there's a lack of like action figures and a lack of specific stories for them, or representation and merchandising at that time. And I'm thinking back and I'm like, dang, like Mad Max came out a year before my conversations about those topics, and here you have this film where it's driven, jokingly, is honest to goodness driven by a strong female character with at least what 5 or 6 other strong female characters in their own right and in their own representation of how strong they are. And it's incredible to see how they interact with each other, with Max, with the other characters, is just, you think about it and you're like, dang, like I'm having these conversations about lack of representation, and here's Mad Max Fury Road where it's like we've got all the representation.
I agree. I mean, I'm very grateful because I think it's really important that young girls, boys, anyone under the sun can see representation for them, especially in films that are targeted at their age level. But it's something really nice when you're an adult, because I obviously don't think I'd show that film personally to any children, not until they're a little bit older. But it's nice that being an adult having that level of representation. I wish it could you could go through your entire life and have different characters and their merchandise, so you can kind of like reinforce that throughout your entire life. But it was nice to know that at least in that season, you know, being of college age, finding, kind of like going through, what do they call it, like coming of age. That's what I'm looking for. So when with the whole concept of coming of age in that time frame I was in, it was really great to see a movie that inspired me. And it was like Liz was saying, these dynamic female characters. They were not, pigeonholed into one kind of either traditional stereotype to more modern stereotypes. I mean, they just across the board were all very unique and special. And I love that. I hope we get more of that in the future.
I agree. And I always think about this one scene that always really impacted me. And it was, and I'm not going to apologize for spoilers. This film's been out long enough. If you're interested, go see it. But there is this, there's a scene where their war rig is stuck in the mud and they're trying to get out. And there's the bullet farmer is coming. He's getting closer and closer. And Max takes this long range rifle type gun and starts firing, and he keeps missing. And Furiosa just silently comes up behind him, and eventually he realizes that he's not going to be able to hit this car, these targets that he's aiming for. So he passes the gun over to Furiosa, and together they work to vanquish this foe. And for me, I was like, there it is right there. There are two very capable people. Just one might be just a little bit better at something, and the other one's comfortable enough to pass over the reins, to pass over, that responsibility. And for me, I was like, that's what I mean when I'm talking about gender roles, like that's what I mean. There's two people that can, that are a unit, that are a group, that are excuse me. If there's a unit and there's a group together and they're partnering on something, and one might have a little bit more skill about something versus the other one, that to me was just that comfort that they both had with one another. And Mad Max is a very, what I would say, pretty traditional macho man. He's buff, he's got scars, he's got all these chains on him in the beginning, and they call him like a raging feral. So he's somebody that you're not going to want to cross paths with. And then he meets a counterpart, several counterparts that are all very different, but the one thing that they have in common is that they're female.
Mm-hmm.
He's got his hands full with them.
Oh my gosh,
because they're a fun group. They're an interesting group.
The big old road trip.
Yeah, big old road trip. Road trip.
Mad Max Fury Road is just it's just a road trip movie, everyone.
Yeah,
it's just a road trip movie. You enjoy it. It's something you sit down with your family and your friends.
Pop the popcorn.
Yep. And then plan a road trip through a desert along with just afterwards, because you'll be inspired too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I really want to go.
Now, last question before we wrap up with Mad Max, which I know there's so much more we could go into and explore and discover together, but again, not tonight. But there is one conversation that has been there's always been talk of what's next after Mad Max Fury Road. There's always been this talk of a Furiosa prequel. I know that there's been discussion on, I believe, the actress. Oh gosh, I'm blanking on her name now.
Charlize Theron.
Yes, there's conversation recently that like she wouldn't be a part of it. There's been conversation on if the movie's even going to happen. What would you two like to see happen with this franchise? Because again, lots of lore, lots of world building. They can go in a number of different places with the story. But where would you like to see? Where'd you like to see the franchise go if they continued it?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, truthfully, and I can't believe I'm saying this, I am always very wary of sequels because I think you come in with preconceived notions from like a previous film, and the way I would the way I would interpret the Mad Max franchise as a whole is that it's like if we were sitting around a campfire and I said, "Have you heard the tale of Mad Max and Furiosa?" And you would say, "Oh, I haven't." And then I would tell you the plot of the film essentially. And then you might say, "Well, have you heard of Mad Max and the Thunderdome?" And then you would tell that story. So they're all individual tales or legends of this
Hmm.
character, Mad Max. So I wouldn't necessarily want to see a repeat of that. I mean, as much as I loved that world and every time the movie ends, I'm like, "No, give me more. Like, don't end here." I think I'd like to see something completely different, new characters, same Max, obviously, same level of like intensity and practical effects, but I'm totally interested in seeing just another tale of the Mad Max character. But I will let you in on a little scoop because I don't know how many people know this, and I'm very excited to share this. I apologize, Liz. I'm going to spill the beans. One of our friends. It's going to sound like one of those stories, but I'm being totally honest. One of our friends, she went out to San Diego recently, and we got her really hooked on this movie as well, which was super exciting because she's one of our childhood friends and we love watching that movie together. And she actually met one of the prop designers, and he's working on the next set of cars. So she sent me some pictures. The cars look absolutely spectacular. I'm so excited to see those when they hit the big screen. So we are confirmed definitely having another Mad Max film. The cars look insane. I'm very excited to see them. But yeah, I think I'm ready for a whole new story, but with the same level of care and love and like adrenaline and gasoline shot into this film.
I would have to agree. I know that there is a comic book series that came out. I can't remember who published it. What comic book publisher published this set of comics? There are not many, and they talk a little bit more about the backstory um, of the Mad Max Fury Road world. There's a little bit of backstory on Nux, our beloved Nux, as well as Furiosa and the wives of Immortan Joe. So in my mind, since it had been such a gap between the last Mad Max film to this more we could call modern day one, I have complete faith. So whatever in my mind, I'm just excited that the idea of there being another film. So in my mind, it would be the same level of care and deepness of story in my mind. And people might think, well, there's less dialogue in that film. You could write it on a napkin, which which is true. That's fair. But I feel like once you watch the film and you see the emotion and the character development and the changes that that is expressed throughout this crazy roller coaster ride, I just want that energy again. That's the same as how Liv feels, but I think that's what has gotten us so excited and hooked on it. Was we jumped in on this bandwagon. It's a high energy bandwagon with a lot of shouting and hooting and hollering in the theaters. So for us, it's the energy and the vibe that film gave off, and we have total faith whatever story that they would like to do. I'd be excited to see Furiosa again, and I'd be just as excited to see Max again. So I'm excited to see where they'll take it. I'm curious and open to it.
Me too.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to whatever they put out. I mean, again, I echo the sentiments, especially with as long as they, take the care with it rather than, shunt it off to somebody that maybe is not interested in doing practical effects or the way that they shot the movie or how they show the characters of the world. You know, as long as somebody's there to kind of shepherd it, I'm happy.
Yes.
We will have to do a whole viewing party, all of us together. We'll have to go. We'll dress up as the characters from the previous film, or if we saw any fan art, and we'll go nuts.
Yes, Mad Max Fury Road Part 2 or whatever it's going to be. I don't even
Yeah.
care. I don't
Yeah.
even care.
Yeah, just movie viewing party all the way.
We're going to go from one extreme in the movie cinematic world to something completely different in the world of the world of movies, because we're going to go from Mad Max Fury Road to another beloved favorite of a number of people that I've talked to and that I get to talk to you both about. That is the world of Hayao Miyazaki and Studio Ghibli films.
Whoop whoop.
Studio Ghibli's been around longer than I believe I've been around, or at least some of the movies might have been, or close to it. What was the movie that got you into them? I'm curious to know, because it's different for every single person I've talked to.
Yeah, that's so I feel like I have two answers. Without knowing what it was, I'm pretty sure it was Kiki's Delivery Service. But when we became more self-aware of what we were watching and realizing that there were more of these films, it was I think Spirited Away. I'm pretty sure that was our introduction. I think it was playing on, I think I have the memory very vividly in my mind. We were visiting some cousins one weekend, and they put on Cartoon Network, and I'm pretty sure like it was the same year it had been nominated for an Academy Award, and they played it on, I think it was like Adult Swim maybe, and I remember being completely just mesmerized, going, "What in the world is this? I love this." And then very excited to find out, like I said, that we have so many more to watch. And let me tell you, we watched all of them like pretty quickly.
It's funny that you would say that, because that is completely my different memory that I have.
Oh,
Completely different memory. I definitely remember just as a small child. Sometimes, you know, when we would, if we had a babysitter come over and they just wanted a break, they would plop us down in front of the TV. And I remember Kiki's Delivery Service and My Neighbor Totoro. And I remember the first time I was aware that this was a film franchise was The Cat's Return. Actually, I remember a family friend coming over, and I think it was a party, but it was more of an adult party. So we kind of all just snuck upstairs to be, you know, how you are. It's like, oh, the kids are going to go upstairs. The kids are going to go into the basement. And that time we went upstairs, and she had brought a Netflix sleeve when Netflix used to send DVDs.
Yep.
And she goes, "We're watching this." And I went, "I don't know what it is, but I'm down." And I remember that, thinking that that was an amazing movie. And then she was telling me during the film, "You know, there's more of these." I was like, "Okay, great," because I want more. I want more of this.
It's such a fascinating way that, especially like with Studio Ghibli, it's so fascinating for me as the host, whenever I talk to people, to find out like their first experiences with Studio Ghibli movies or with Miyazaki films, because it's so different. Like, I used to work at Blockbuster back when there was a thing called Blockbuster.
Oh, rip
So
Blockbuster. I love
yeah,
Blockbuster.
and I remember, checking out, a number of times Kiki's Delivery Service, My Neighbor Totoro were like the two big ones like with kids and families, but I'd never seen them. But the first one that I watched was Princess Mononoke, because one of our very small movie theaters actually got the movie in the theater, which mind blown, because living in the South, you don't get many movies that are outside of like the big blockbuster type movies.
Mm-hmm.
And so like we got Mononoke that year, and then whenever Spirited Away came out, is like, oh, we get to see this in the movie theater too.
I love that.
And is just like, from there I was like, oh, there's more. And that's like when the internet was like starting to to like be really accessible. Like Internet Movie Database was like my home. Whenever I load up like the internet, like that's the first page I would go to, was that, so I could see what's going on in the movie world and learn about different movies. And dang, if Studio Ghibli just doesn't have my heart.
I know. I know. It's so strange because I talk about how much I love these movies, but I honestly have a hard time watching them, not because like of anything negative, but they make me feel so nostalgic for like a time of my life that you just, as everyone, you just grow up, and so it, like between me and Liz, sometimes we have to be very careful when we watch them because we'll just get incredibly emotional and like be a little weepy and like in a good way, but just like, oh my gosh, I remember the first time we watched that. It was like summer of this year, and I remember like we invited all of our friends over to watch it with us, and like I think at one point too, like one of us got sick and we watched Howl's Castle like on repeat while we were like down with like a sore throat or something like that. So they're such magical films, and you know put them in my coffin when I die. I don't want to be ever a day without them.
I agree. There's definitely a level of there's not a single one that I watch where I don't have a memory associated with it, and I feel like that makes those films really special because sometimes you just watch a movie and you're like, okay, watch it before I went to bed. You go upstairs, you go to bed, or I'll just watch this on a whim because I had a day off and it was on TV. But there's something that captures them. I remember going to on vacation and finding out there was a DVD player at the place that we're staying and bringing those movies along. Those were the movies we bring along to watch in the evenings after whatever it was, whether we were at the beach or going on a hike, something of that nature. We just those were our companions.
Yeah, they're like part of the family.
Mm-hmm.
And whether our parents wanted them to be or not, because they got really tired of us constantly rewatching them like over and over again. So
yeah, we were lucky they were DVDs and not VHSs because we probably would have worn the VHS film tape out real fast.
Yeah, agreed.
Well, I will say, as speaking as a parent and having my three kids watch a number of things repeatedly, I would rather them watch Studio Ghibli movies than some of the movies that they have opted to rewatch many times. And I'm like, like I see them watching it. I'm like, can you guys just watch something different or something better?
I can imagine. Yeah, it's well, I mean, maybe one day they'll want to watch those, and then you'll get to hear them in the background all day long.
Well, a fun fact is that one of our like little independent movie theater that you go to, and they have like a bar and food and everything. Um, Before the pandemic, every year they would have they do these family movies where they start them at like noon on a Saturday or Sunday. It's really cheap. Kids get in free. Parents pay to get in. Um, but one time every year they would do a Studio Ghibli movie. So the kids have seen on screen like oh gosh, Castle in the Sky, Kiki's Delivery Service. We've watched Totoro. They've been exposed to some of them, and they have taken a liking to them. I think I think they honestly don't know that they're available on HBO Max. Because I don't want them getting into some of the other stuff that's on HBO Max.
Right. Right, I know that.
That's fair. That's fair. That's a safe move.
Yeah, yeah, that's fantastic. I love that.
With the library of movies that Studio Ghibli has, I have to ask, like, which is your favorite movie?
For me, it's always been Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, but
Yes.
recently, yes, that's, oh my gosh, I love that. I really want to cosplay her at some point, but it's one of those things where it's like it's so precious to me. I want to take my time like figuring that out. Not that I don't take my time with other ones, but I really want to make sure I'm putting all the love and care into that one. But I also really love Castle in the Sky. That one has become in recent years very, very special to me as well. But yeah, Nazca is like my heart and soul. I love that film. I love that woman. I love the characters. I love the music and the animation style, and she's just absolute gem of a film. Please, everyone, go watch it. You will, like same with Fury Road, but really go see Nazca.
I would say for years, it was House Moving Castle. I just that movie was such a comfort to me. And then I started watching these when I was relatively young, and then when I got a little bit older and I was moving more into the the PG-13, occasionally if it was R for language movies, I watched uh, Princess Mononoke, and that just stole my heart away. I remember I first read about the movie before I watched it, because at the time my I'm gonna make myself sound really really old, but my mom was like, I don't want you watching that film yet. Like it seems a little violent, and I wanted to respect her wishes, so I just was reading about it, and I was captivated. So when I finally got to see it for the first time, it was like it's all been leading up to this. I'm so excited. So those definitely, I both have a very very special place in my heart. Both of those films do.
Gosh, and the animation for Princess Mononoke, especially with the number of the fight scenes, is just incredible to witness.
It is. Do you have a favorite?
I lean towards like Princess Mononoke as far as like because it's the first one I saw, so therefore I have that. But I do love Nausicaa so much. But the other thing is that when I used to teach in Japan for a couple of years, and in one of their bookstores, I found like the 8-volume manga set of Nausicaa,
Whoop whoop.
and I was stunned that they've only done one movie of Nausicaa when there's so much that they could be doing with the world and the lore and the stories and the characters. I'm like, you only gave us like a fraction, and I want more. I want more Nausicaa.
Yeah, I read them too, and it's funny you'd bring that up because I like years ago for Christmas was like, "Will you all please buy these for me?" And so I got them. And as I was reading them, I was really enjoying it, but as I read each volume, I would like get this sense of dread because I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm coming up on the last volume." And I ended up never finishing it. And then when quarantine happened, I was like, "You know what? I'm going to finish them." And guess what? I still couldn't bring myself to read the last one. So I don't know how. I mean, I'm assuming the manga series ends the same way, but I don't know for a fact if it. Well, I know it doesn't end the same way, but ends in a similar way. So I'm very like, it's something I have to overcome. I have to finish it at some point, but today is not that day. I don't want that story to be over. I just need it to like be one novel away from being done for me. But I agree. I wish they would. I wish they had done more, but I also understand that it's hard to cram all that world into an hour and a half film. But hopefully, I mean, I don't know. It could. I think I heard they were doing like some company was doing like a live action version of Nausicaa, but I think it was like, it was going to be expensive, so who knows where it ends up
Hmm.
going. But yeah, I love the film, but I also really love the manga series. They're very good. 10 out of 10 recommend.
The thing that I was just thinking of, because we talked about Mad Max first, and we talked about the strong female characters, is that Studio Ghibli throws at us almost every movie is you've got that leading female character, and I'm not going to say it's mind-boggling, but it is something where I'm like, you think about it, it's like, wow, like for the most part there is a main female character in every movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you're absolutely right. I remember, I think it's actually like in the DVD sleeve of Spirited Away, there was like a quote from Miyazaki, and I don't want to necessarily reference all of it because I don't want to misquote him, but I remember it being something along the lines of him saying he just wants to create like real women in movies, not
Hmm.
not like the idealistic traditional woman, which you can totally see because his female characters are not conventionally attractive, um and they're also different. I mean, I can't compare any of them. I mean, I know there's like probably like the equivalent of like BuzzFeed, like which Studio Ghibli like female character are you? But that being said, like they're so different. It's not like you're gonna get like Sophie is completely different from San, who's completely different from Nazca, who's completely different from, Chihiro. Like they're all so unique. It's great.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
yeah, that's true. I feel like he was doing that before it became something on the mainstream. Not to say that those films aren't on the mainstream, because I feel I've talked to most people and they're not mystified when I drop some of the title names. Some of them they're not as familiar with, like Poco Rosso, but
Hmm.
when you say Spirited Away or Princess Mononoke or My Neighbor Totoro, their eyes light up. They're like, "Oh, I've seen those," you know. So I feel like there's something that, and a lot of people that I know of that don't really, they're like, "Oh, I don't watch anime," or I'm not into that that genre of film and entertainment or media in general. They instantly are like, "Oh, well, that's not that."
Yep.
I'm like, yes, it is, and it's great, and there's a fun world out there for you if you're interested, that sort of thing.
Out of the movies, because again, number of movies in the Ghibli world. Uh, where would you love to live if you could live in one of those movies? Which movie would you live in?
I wish you could see my face because I looked like a kid in the candy store. Like, I love this question. I think I would like to live in the Valley of the Wind. I loved it was like a little farming community. They all lived, or not everyone, I shouldn't say that, but a lot of them lived in like windmills. That's really cool. I don't really love wind though, so that would kind of stink. But I understand that they usually wear headdresses to protect their hair because my hair would be like in my mouth 24/7 if I was there with all the wind blowing. But yeah, I that or I guess I could live where Kiki moves because that's such a cute town. I would just eat bread every day and go watch the dirigible land. That would be really spectacular. But yeah, I think I'm going to stick with the Valley of the Wind. I would be very content to retire there. I'd be okay with that.
I feel if I was to pick a place, I would want to live in Kiki's childhood home. That ivy moss covered cottage is the ideal dream home of mine. And I love that area. And I would love to spend time with her mom, like brewing up potions, things of that nature. I think that the town that she moves to is adorable, but I love that little countryside, little plot of land that she lives in with her family. So if I could move into that house or have that house built to the exact same specifications that we know of, I would be so excited to live in that house. Not necessarily the world, but that house. But if I was to live in one of the worlds, it would be the world of Totoro. And I know that, I love the deep dark forests of the Princess Mononoke film, but I feel like I would get eaten in like 15 minutes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, and I love Howl's Moving Castle, but the war torn areas and that it keeps getting closer and closer, I feel like I couldn't handle the anxiety of that. So both of those worlds, I love the idea of there being forest spirits and maybe being able to encounter one, and the beautiful mountains and the countryside again, the quiet, gentle countryside of the Miyazaki world. Any of those you could plot me down and I'd be very content.
And bonus is that you get to eat the delicious Miyazaki Studio Ghibli film food that they put out there, and you're like, dang, if my food could just look like that.
Oh my gosh, I am hungry after every film. I literally turn to Olivia and I'm like, we have to order something. We have to make something because I literally can't. I'm starving by the end.
What world would you live in, David?
Oh gosh. I've got the soft spot for like Kiki's the town that she moves to, but I'd like to have like a good job. Like I don't want to have a job where I'm constantly like working and having to just work and then go home and pass out. Like I want like I would want like a good relaxing job.
Yeah, I feel that.
But that's where I would go. I as much as I love like what's going on in Nausicaa, like I don't know if I could deal with the world like being all garbagey.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I kind of I feel like if I lived there, I would be selfish and just kind of block it out. Be like, "Oh no, I'm fine. I'm just chilling." Like
I
the wind's
I'm
blowing.
fine, but you young whippersnappers here, you gotta deal with it later.
Right, right, right. I'll be one of the elderly ladies who's just she's like, caring for the cattle and hanging out with some trees and looking out over the salty ocean, the acid ocean, and just kind of hang out. It'll be great. I love it.
So we're gonna shift from movies to an animated TV series, and I will say that whenever I talk Avatar: The Last Airbender, it's always a fun time. It's one of my favorite TV series with some of my favorite characters ever, competing against live action TV shows. I still rank a number of people as or a number of characters up there as my favorites over real people, real actors. But we're going to talk about Avatar: The Last Airbender, and again, everyone has their own entry point into the show. Where did you first land? Where did you first discover the world of Avatar?
It's so hard for me to even remember because it feels like it's been a part of my life from like day one, but I do remember like, and I don't know what our issue was, Liz, but we did not understand the concept of like, hey, if you tune in every week at this specific time, you'll get a new episode of the show. So it would just be me and Liz blindly turning on like Cartoon Network, or no, I apologize, blindly turning on Nickelodeon and being like, is it on? Where's the show? Like, we want to watch the Avatar show. So we started watching it when it was airing, but we would be getting random episodes.
Hmm.
Didn't get to watch it in order until we bought the DVD series as adults. So I think we bought it in college. Actually, I think that was
We
like,
did. We did.
yeah, we wanted to watch it in college because every when you hit that phase of your life, you just kind of want to go back to what was familiar. But yeah, I think it's been with us since we were wee children.
Yes, I remember seeing a lot of fanfare about it. It'd be like every 5 minutes there'd be a commercial or like a countdown in the lower corner of the TV, being like this many minutes, this many days, this many hours till the release of the first episode or of the next season, that sort of thing. And I remember that there was a day, I can't remember, let's say it was a Friday. I was like, Friday's the day it's released. Friday came and went. Completely left my memory. Like, could not, like Liv was saying, we both were terrible about just realizing that you could look up the TV schedule and we could watch it. And it was, interestingly enough, the same friend that introduced us to Miyazaki films was the same one who we ended up actually watching several episodes with consistently. She was better about being like, "Oh, it's on now. Let's watch it." So we would watch it, and I think we used to go and spend time together in the summer. Our families would go on vacation together in the summer, and we would stay with her grandmother, and she had direct TV, I think it was called, the one where you could like fast forward through the commercials.
Yeah.
And oh my goodness, that was amazing to me. And the fact that we could watch like basically on demand Avatar was mind-boggling. So we watched a lot. We took advantage of that. We watched a lot of Avatar then.
We
a
did.
lot of Avatar then.
We did.
I too had the same issue. Like, I had discovered Avatar when it started. I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. Whatever. I'll watch it whenever I can watch it. I'd miss episodes. I would catch like rerun episodes. I remember watching, I think, like the Black Sun, like the first one, and
Ooh,
then
yeah.
missing a number of them. I'm like, oh well, I guess they didn't win. Okay, and just went on from there. I think it was a while until because I don't think I watched anything for like I just catch it on cable here or there on Nickelodeon, but it took a while until I actually was able to watch the entire series, and then it was like binged it real quick, and then it's like every year there's at least one rewatch. We bought the Blu-rays finally. Now of course it's on Netflix, so it's even easier to get to than having to pop a disc in.
Exactly.
But But it's one of those shows where, and I feel like it hadn't been done for a while, is like an actual episodic animated show for kids where it's like you do have to tune in, you do need to watch, and they reference stuff, like from season 2 they reference back to season 1, and they reference, certain characters, and it's like, oh, they actually like, have real depth and real story, and you start watching it, it's like, dang, like this show has multiple layers, and it's for everybody, not just a kids cartoon show.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Yeah, I mean, it's funny you'd say I hadn't ever thought of it like that before because it is certainly like you could be very confused, and even the very few, and I don't even want to call them filler episodes, but even the few ones, they would put a tidbit in there that you needed, or they were so fun that like you didn't want to miss them. Why would you want to miss it? We had a blast watching it. Like so, yeah, they made the creators and the artists and everybody involved absolutely poured their heart and soul into each episode, and you can totally feel it. They're so lovely.
I full heartedly agree. And that is interesting. I hadn't really thought. Think about Adventure Time or something along that lines, which I'm not going to necessarily compare them, but you could watch an episode and might be a little bit confused because there might have been some character development, but you can watch them all randomly and not feel like you've missed anything. But with Avatar, you're like, wait a second, why are they in the Earth Kingdom now? Like they were last episode I saw they were still with the Northern Water Tribe, that sort of thing.
Right.
Which I feel like, and I liked it because I feel like that show gave kids credit. It was something where they dealt with. Yes, Meeps, you agree with that? They gave kids credit. It allowed them. It talked about some topics about war, about loss, about coming of age, and it didn't dumb it down for them. I felt
Hmm.
like it could speak to children that were very very young, and they could enjoy just for the some of the slapstick humor, or the more the kids that are a little bit more mature, whether that be just due to age or life circumstances. I always liked that about it, and the fact that I feel like now as an adult, it's one of those shows that holds up. There have been times where I've watched things where I was like, I love this as a kid, and then I'm like, this is mind numbing now as an adult. The only reason I'm like watching this is because of the nostalgia. But now that's one where I'm like, I'm still find myself laughing, and it's a genuine laugh. It's not a laugh where I'm like, oh yeah, I remember. It's like, oh my gosh, like I completely forgot about that joke, or oh my gosh, I completely forgot about that situation. And my godchild, she's very young, and she's her mother, my best friend, is showing her this show now, and it's hilarious hearing her just randomly quote something. It delights me beyond end. I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is, I don't know, it just makes me excited that she, even in her young age, is starting to pick up on the humor of the show.
Absolutely. And like you said, it doesn't talk down to kids. It's right on the level, and it's not unflinching. Because we showed our kids the series a couple years ago, and it's just it presents it. It's like, here we're going to the air temple, and as adults or as people that have watched the episodes before, you're like, oh gosh, like what are we going to see at the air temple? And like they straight up are like, here's the skeletons of your dead friends and mentors and stuff. And it's like it doesn't shy away from, here's what happened, here's what's going on, and here's what we're going to have to do about it. And it is definitely a show where it just presents it, and it's like, let the kids figure it out, let them absorb it through the show, discuss it. We always would sit, like, because we'd watch it with them, so we'd always just talk about if something came up and they needed to ask us questions. But it's definitely a show where it's just straight up, here's a show that could be a primetime TV show, but it's an animated show geared towards kids, but it's not going to talk down to them.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's very special that way.
I will say that I have gone back to some of like cartoon shows I grew up with on Disney Plus, and I can't make it through them because as much as I remember them with fondness, I don't want to sit through them anymore.
Yeah, and some of them can be very loud or obnoxious. It's just like they're flashing a lot of lights at you to catch your attention. But unlike this, where it's just like they did rely heavily on story and dialogue and character development, and I think that's what I love. They're like, kids will like this; they'll appreciate it, even if they don't realize what they're appreciating. They'll appreciate it.
Yeah, it grows up with you. You can watch it as a kid, as like a teen, as an adult, and I'm sure. I mean, even I feel like the few episodes my parents have watched when we were a little bit younger, they enjoyed it too. They weren't like it wasn't like, oh, you're putting that show on. Like, not that they were ever thinking about it, but they were like, oh, you're putting on Avatar. Okay, yeah, we like Sokka, and I was like, yeah, Sokka. Yeah, all good. It was great.
Whenever I talk fandoms, and specifically with Avatar, there's always the traditional question of, if you were a bender, what bender would you be?
Oh gosh, I feel like, well, originally when we were asked that question, like when you're young and you're like doing the thing, I think they said, or someone told me, I forget who, that like your bender, you'd be whatever zodiac sign you are is what you would bend. So like Liz and I are Leos, so we're fire signs, which works for me because the idea of bending lightning is like thrilling beyond belief. So I am absolutely a firebender, like absolutely a firebender.
I would say I grew up also learning that. So I've always had kind of just a relationship with the idea of being a firebender. But if I could pick any bending, I would be a swamp bender. So I guess a water bender technically. I love fire bending. I think it's beautiful. I love the style of movement that they use and the types of fire that just the colors and the energy and bending out of nothing was always fascinating to me. Having to breathe life into that fire. So I would wholeheartedly happily be a firebender, but I also have a very soft spot for the swamp bender. So a water bender, just so that I could go into the swamp and be a swamp bender. What about you?
Well, I had never heard the zodiac sign thing at all, so therefore, like, I should be a firebender. However, I always feel like I'm like that salt of the earth as a person, and I can't see myself doing water or air or fire. So I always felt like earthbending, but I'd be like the generic earthbender, not like a cool like metal bender or lava or anything like that. It'd just be like the guy moving like the dirt around, and okay, let's keep going here.
You saying that, that's what I would have picked for you too. That like you have like and not that I'm super into zodiac, but I would thought you would say like, oh, I'm a Taurus or something, which is like the earth sign. So yeah, I totally see that. You were quintessential earthbender in my brain.
I will take that. Thank you. Again, with the traditional questions that I ask on this podcast, favorite character, because there's so many of them. You can't just pick one, but you can if you just want to pick one. That's cool.
Oh gosh, I was hoping like I love that question, but oh my gosh, that's such a hard question to answer. I think it's I love Zuko and I love Uncle Iroh. The older I get, the more I love Uncle Iroh. He like sometimes I'll watch the show and if I'm having a rough week and he'll just say something to like Zuko or some character and then I find myself getting all choked up and I'm like, I love you, Uncle Iroh. Thank you so much. Like I really need to hear that. Like I would like to think if I were to have some sort of like premonition or a dream and someone were to come to my dream to like give me some sort of like word of wisdom or whatever, I would hope it'd be like in the it would be Uncle Iroh essentially like coming to tell me like, you should do X, Y, and Z, or like this is your, I believe in you. Like he's a gem. I adore him.
I honestly love all the characters, even the really evil, nasty ones. I think they're all fantastic. I would be happy to put my flag on any of their quintessential hill. Just being like, yep, I stick with you. But I do love, as a twin, I love the twins. Lo and me, love them. I think they're creepy, and they finish each other's sentences, which I find kind of odd.
We gotta cosplay them at some point.
Yeah, exactly. Really, really love them. I love King Boomy. I just think I love how crazy and wacky he is. I love Princess Yue. I love Sokka. Again, I'm just gonna be like listing basically by the end every character that I can think of. So I really can't. But do you have a favorite? Can you narrow it down?
Absolutely, because I will die on the hill that Uncle Iroh is not only is he my favorite character from the show, he's one of my favorite characters in any media at all. Like he's up there as a character that stands shoulder to shoulder with literary characters and characters from live action TV shows and live action movies. I loved his voice actor Mako from his work in like Conan the Barbarian back in like the 70s. So I grew up watching him in a number of different movies, and I loved his energy that he gave to the character, and it's just so good. It's still I still tear up during, I think it's the Tales of the Boss Sing Se episode.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I still every time he starts singing his song, it's like, oh gosh, like I'm gonna cry.
Yeah.
Same. I was even as Liv was talking about Uncle Iroh. That's the first thing I think. I was like, that's what gets me every single time. It doesn't matter how many times I see it. When I see that episode, I always cry along with him.
Yeah, beautiful character. Love. Everyone should take anyone who writes characters in any sense, take a note out of the Avatar book. You should use him as a perfect example of good character writing and just lovely human being.
Dynamic, complicated, wonderful, but also simple.
Yeah,
it's just everything perfect.
Iroh fan club right here.
If you're going to take another note out of the Avatar universe, the best redemption arc ever that I've probably seen in media is Zuko, and getting to watch like his story unfold and his arc and the way that Team Avatar deals with him essentially like in that third season. It's just like it's wonderful to see. It's just wonderful to see where he started from to where he ends up. And I think a lot more shows need to honestly steal from that, because there's been some other shows that had redemption arcs and they wanted me to buy into it like with like one or two episodes. I'm like, you should have started that like at least a season ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's funny you bring that up because I remember distinctly like watching, somehow we had figured out how to watch the like season finale. I think it was season 2, where Zuko was like, I'm joining the Avatar. I remember I had my face pressed up against the, like when the TVs used to be like the size of like a bed. My face pressed up against it. I screamed, yes, so loud. My family was like, Olivia, please calm down. Like I had been so loud, but it was, I was so excited, like genuinely, because I had grown to love, I first hated him, and then I sympathized and empathized with him, and then I loved him, and then knowing he had like woken up and realized he was deserving of redemption and he wanted to make things right, like oh my gosh, like even as a young kid, again, like just I understood and I wanted him to succeed, and the grace that Team Avatar gave him. And then also all those not side episodes, but like when they all had like their deep moment with Zuko, like I would totally have wanted one of those if I had been in that universe. Like, let me go on some adventure with Zuko and like discover the meaning of life or something like that.
Yep.
Yeah, I loved how it shook up the whole group, and it added another dynamic layer that I think complemented it. It wasn't just everybody and Zuko. It was like, no, like it almost, by the end of that, when they fully indoctrinated him into the group, it felt natural. It seemed from that point on, it almost was like, whoa, he was here the whole time, a part of the group. So I agree. Excellent. Still one of the best character arcs, redemptive arcs, story arcs I've ever seen.
All right, I got 2 Avatar questions before we move on. The first one, because I wasn't made aware of this until probably a year ago about like the shipping. Okay, like now I understand characters get together and you're rooting for characters to like pair off and stuff. And with the show, you get Katara and Aang. Now, I was not aware of this until until last year, that there was a contingent of people that wanted Katara and Zuko.
Oh, that's right.
Now, where do you have an opinion? Is there like is there a side that you're on, or is it more like, I just love the show?
If I'm totally like outing myself right now, I never really wanted Zuko to be with anyone because when I was young, I wanted him to be with me. I was like Team Liv and Zuko, woohoo! Especially when he like got longer, like when he like let his hair grow out. I was definitely into like long haired Zuko. So no, I mean, yeah, it's so strange. I don't feel like I ever fell into the shipping element of the fandom. I certainly like had friends who were interested in it, but I guess like maybe I was just like when I was watching it, I was so young, I was just kind of enjoying the characters. That being said though, I'm more hung up on who I want Sokka to be with because I really loved him with Yue, but I also really love Suki. So like it was really hard, for me to be like, oh my gosh, if I could pick who would I want him to be with or who would I want each of these lovely ladies to be with. So yeah, I didn't really have a trouble with Aang or Katara or Zuko. It was Sokka, Suki, and Yue.
It's interesting. I'm sort of in the same boat as Liv. I never really got into the shipping wars. I wasn't really using a lot of the internet at the time when this was still coming out a lot. So I wasn't
Hmm.
really on online forums or in chat rooms talking about who I wanted with which. I do love when people make fan art of their shipping, their pairings, children. I saw one of if Zuko and Qatar ended up with their they made a character that was their daughter, and it was a really fascinating, like, oh my gosh, like it does look like a combination of both of them. So that I always find that neat. But in my mind, I always felt it was just a little odd, to be completely honest. I guess maybe it's just my lack of maturity at the time when I was watching, but I always felt a little bit strange. I'm like, but they're really close. Didn't realize that there was a bit of a love thing between Aang and Katara at the time. I was always kind of, I don't know. I was always like they're kids, they're kids. That was kind of on my mind. Again, I know that they as they got older, that the idea of them and falling in love, and being together as they grew up, I loved that. But when at first I was just like, they're kids, they know what they feel
Right.
right now. And that's not me being fair, because I'm talking one minute I'm talking about how the show gives kids a lot of credit, but then also I was just like, they're children. So it wasn't. I never really was into the shipping wars or anything like that. I just enjoyed watching it, and I like the creativity that people still do to this day about this show. Like, we're not letting it go. We're not letting it kind of go to the wayside. We're still
Mm-mm.
breathing life into it every day.
Well, see, you got a perfect segue to the last question with the creation of the Avatar Studios, essentially from the creators, and that they're going to be having new animated projects, whether it's new shows or new like potential movies or whatnot. What would you like to see? Like, because obviously we had the Korra sequel that dealt with a lot of like the spirits and the basically an industrial revolution. But if you were given the reins, or if you were asked like what you'd like to see, like what would you like to see out of the Avatar universe? Like what would you love for them to put on screen?
I'm gonna keep it real simple. I want more swamp. I want all the swamp benders. I want an entire like mini series on like the culture of swamp benders, because I don't know if you're aware. Me and Liz cosplay swamp benders, and they are so fun and they're so cool. And yeah, I'm team swamp. I want more swamp. I'm very excited to put it like in a visual perspective. If you're familiar, listeners, to Avatar, there's a scene where Aang appears and on an island, and this guy gets so excited he starts like foaming at the mouth. Like, that's how I feel about this Avatar Studios. I am so excited for that.
Um, I'm trying to think. There's so much that I would be excited to see. I'm sure a lot of people would agree with me, or probably have said it louder and far earlier than I have. But I know that there's the comic books that talk about Zuko's mother, but I would love to see that in animation. I would love to see that played out in front of me. They did such a great job with the comic books; it almost felt like I was watching an episode. But I would love to see the episode and hear their voices. Just be able to sit back and enjoy that. That I would also love for them to go more back in time and looking at more of the previous avatars, Avatar
Hmm.
Roku, things of that nature, or even or focusing more on some of the more smaller sub bending cultures that go on, an entire season or mini series that goes on with the swamp benders, or focusing on a certain region
Hmm.
more. What about looking at how things were in the Fire Nation during the rise of this all powerful trying to conquer the world leaders. I would love to see something like that. Anything to add more layers to the world would make me very, very happy. I would take anything, anything.
I was gonna say, I think the consensus is we just want more Avatar.
We want more content. Give us whatever it is. I have full faith in them that they'll literally pick up where they left off. I feel like the energy and the love and dedication is still there, probably more tenfold as it's building, since they're dedicating a studio to this.
Absolutely. Now, Liv and Liz, we have made it to the portion where you're definitely going to be dominating on this one because it is outside of my realm. I've been following. You brought up if I've seen your swamp bending cosplays, and I actually went back earlier today. I was like, when did I first start following Liv and Liz, right? I'm like, okay, let me scroll back. And it's like February of 2019 is when I first had stumbled across your account. I can't even remember how at this point,
Wow.
but I stumbled across some of your cosplay photos, and I was like, they're cool. Like, you got a number of different cosplays. You do a lot of inventive and creative shoots, and so hit that follow button and send emails, and here I have you both on to talk about cosplay. um the first obvious question is, how did you both decide to get into cosplay, and was it something where you both wanted to do it, or was it where one of you started and the other one joined in?
Okay, so I'm pretty sure because it's been so long. Um, Back in like middle school, I want to say, we got a friend of ours actually got us into watching anime. I remember our first anime outside of like Pokemon, if you count that, would be uh, I'm wondering if anyone knows what this is. Ultramaniac and Elemental Delayed. Elemental Delayed. It's very like short, cute, fun animes. And so then she mentioned this thing called Otakon, and we were like, "What's that?" She's like, "It's like an anime convention. You can go and dress up." And we're like, "Dress up? That sounds kind of cool." So I think like the night before, we came up with some like essentially cosplays where like we went to like Target and bought some like relatively look-alike. And I remember it was like before I knew people bought wigs, and so I spray painted my hair with like the Party City stuff, pink. I did Sarah Farron from Final Fantasy 13, some version of that. It was so funny. It's like looking back and seeing my hair just dyed like a very like disgusting pink color. I think it got stuck in my hair for like a week. But yeah, I think it was like oh gosh, when did that game come out? I think it was maybe 2012. I'm really not good at time. If you like, I think Shrek came out 20 years ago, and I still think it came out like that's
Eight max,
yeah,
eight max.
yeah. Everything is 8 years ago. I think even Avatar, we were like, yeah, it came out like 7 years ago. No, it didn't. It came out longer than 7 years. But yeah, so that I think that was our introduction to this wonderful world that we have now spent a ridiculous amount of time living in.
Yes, I think it's funny that we even got into cosplay, to be completely honest, because I was the child that on Halloween night was running around my room and around the house grabbing things that I could just throw together to make a costume. And I was a very resistant, like, I don't want to go out, I don't want to dress up, that sort of thing. I don't even know what possessed me to want to do it. because I am an introvert. I am not someone that loves to delve deep into a crowd of people. I don't like a lot of running around and in anything in any sort of costume, but for some reason we did it and I got hooked, and we got hooked on Otakon. That was our first introduction, and a pretty big one too, now that I think about it. It's a very, very large convention.
Yeah.
And we just and it was funny, that was the year that we went with our friend who got us into anime, and it was the first and last year that she went along. After that, what's nice about having a sibling that's interested in something, and then even more so a twin, is that you go through a lot of similar life milestones together. So you have almost a built-in companion. So it was okay that none of our friends wanted to go with us and wanted to
Right.
do anything with us. It was like, all right, we'll go together. And it was
Right.
around our birthday. So we kind of considered it like a little birthday thing for us, just the two of us, just for us, which was nice, even though there's like probably thousands of people there. It was just for us.
Yeah.
With you both having each other, do you decide on cosplays together, or does one bring the hey, let's do this, and the other one says yes or no, or hey, I've got a different idea? Like how does the formation of your cosplays work? Because generally, at least what you post up on Instagram is that you're in the like doing the same fandom or doing something similar or something where they're connected in some sense.
Yeah, I feel like it's evolved. Like first, it started as us coming together and being like, "Oh, we like this same show or movie or comic," and then we would pick different characters. And then we went through a season, and we're still kind of in that season where it's just a fun gimmick. We'll dress up as the same character because it is. I mean, even like, obviously I know my own face and Liz knows her own face. But when we put on the same blonde wig and the same cosplay, it is almost like truly like I have that moment where I'm like, oh yeah, we look really similar. Like we are we are identical in physicality. And then recently, it's been fun to do characters who would be in the same universe together, or doing variations of them. So like, oh, I'll be the like good twin, evil twin, or like, for Spider Gwen we did like good Gwen and like evil Gwen. That was really fun. So yeah, anything where we can kind of use our likeness as like a fun little kind of gimmicky thing, but it also helps because we do enjoy the same shows and whatnot. So we're having a good time hyping each other up.
Yes. Definitely, typically, I would say more recently, Liv has exposed me to some different shows or video games or movies. Just I get really busy, and sometimes I come home and I just crash. I don't watch anything. I just go straight to bed. So she's been showing me some fun ones. So sometimes she'll be like, "Hey, I was thinking maybe we could watch this," and we watch it. I'm like, "I really like that." And she goes, "So I'm thinking maybe we could cosplay from it." And normally I just need a little bit of a nudge, and a little bit of encouragement, and I'm normally down to do it. And then we'll both, as we're creating it or as we're looking at things, then we'll start to throw ideas back and forth, like, oh, maybe we could do this character, or oh, I really liked this scene, so we could maybe do something mirrored of that. Is always fun, and we have a lot of great friends in the community. So if we and we're our I would say one thing that's I would say about us is that our excitement can be contagious. So if we get our friends excited about something and they're into cosplaying, normally they'll want to join in, and then we'll start building a little group. So sometimes it's fun. It's fun that just the two of us, but we're very lucky enough to have friends that also get excited in sharing it with us. So then two becomes four, five, six, and then we got a whole little squad going.
We love a squad.
We love a group. We love going as characters from one big thing. It's always a blast.
Yeah, it's definitely visible in the pictures that you share, especially like the groups of like you all as like different spiders or
Mhm.
spider characters, and there's like 4 or 5, 6 of you, and it's just it's incredible to look at just for the variety, and it's like each one of you is different, but it's all in that same fandom essentially, and it's just really well done. And then there's some shots of you two where you're doing like I'm looking at one right now. I'm going to make sure I say it correctly. Like it's Spider Gwen and Ghost Spider. It's like the black and white costume, and you're back to back. But the way that it's shot is just like almost like mirror image. Like if you put a line down it, it'd be as if like you're looking into like a mirror universe of a different alternate version.
Yeah, yeah, and that was the picture you pull out. If I'm thinking of the right one, it was really cool because Liz did the PS4 version of that, and then I did the negative, so like the photo negative version of that. And then at the time, I ended up not doing this because I ran out of time. I was going to try to learn how to do photo negative makeup, so I could truly be photo negative. But then I built a mask, and that was a lot more fun. But yeah, it was we like to have that like little extra pizzazz, I guess, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
we take full advantage of the fact that we look very similar in face and in body. So we and I always find that it's always fun to see that. We've always really liked the dynamic opposites or the dynamic duo sort of thing. So and what's wonderful and I think was really got us more into cosplay is the Marvel and specifically Spider cosplay community because there are people that dedicate their entire cosplay careers to just doing spider characters
Hmm.
because they're so well beloved. I remember one time we were walking, this was when Otakon was moved to DC, and I was with a friend of mine, and he was dressed as Spider Man, and I was dressed as Spider Gwen. And we were walking down the street, and we were trying to get to our parking garage. We ended up being like 30 minutes late to meeting some friends at the parking garage because we kept getting stopped. People that didn't know that the convention was going on or weren't a part of the convention were so excited to see Spider-Man. So excited to see Spider-Gwen. And there were kids, coming up and wanting to interact. So I always, whenever we dress up as spiders in particular, we always make an effort and a point to acknowledge children because this is like at least for me when I was a kid, Spider-Man was a huge hero of mine. So seeing that, I always want to do the same for them and acknowledge them. So I just think it's funny that that community is so warm and welcoming. And I think without us, getting into that, we might have had a different trajectory with our cosplay. Not saying that the rest of the community isn't warm and welcoming, but that little section is just one big wonderful group of people.
Yeah, it's all big Spider-Verse.
Yep, everyone's welcome. Everyone's excited to see the variations. There's a lot of acceptance on, your interpretations, whether they be exact or loosely based, or it doesn't matter where you come from, what your skill level is. It's everyone's. They're just like, oh my gosh, that's awesome! So
Right.
excited to have you here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you don't think about it until I guess you're in it because I see your group of spiders, and then I see other people that do like that. They're like just that's what they do. They do the Spider-Man, but they do like the multiple versions, or they do something different and they change it up. And it is definitely one of those ones where the there is that community built around it. Plus, kids. I mean, everyone loves Spider-Man.
Mhm,
Yep,
mhm. Yeah,
yep.
we think it's really important that, if you feel comfortable speaking to Spider-Man cosplayers, to be conscientious of the fact that, like, you are representing a friendly neighborhood character, and they're beloved by so many, so, if you're in the middle of a shoot and, like, some kid walks by and they wave, like, take a second to wave back because they're impressionable, and also again you're representing someone who is a hero to a lot of people, and it's fun to wear the costume and run around, but understanding also a sense of responsibility in portraying that character, whether it's just in posing or just wandering around. So
Yeah,
that,
just like we had a very quiet photo shoot a couple, gosh, back in what, May?
yeah, maybe, I don't know.
May, and it was masks on, it was like a COVID photo shoot. It was very interesting, that sort of thing. And we had so many kids just itching to come over because there was a big group of us. We were all spiders, just itching to come over and say hi. And with the pandemic and everything, there was a lot of like hesitancy. So we'd wave from afar, and they'd wave back, or they'd slow down their car, roll down their window, and say hi, that sort of thing. So doesn't matter what's going on in the world, kids and adults, because there were a lot of adults too that were excited to see us. Love their friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Now, you've done a number of different cosplays. Do you have a favorite where you're like, you know what, this was a great costume or a great photo shoot, a great thing where you created the costume, you took the photo, and it just like everything worked out?
Yeah, for me, it was my Fierce Deity Link cosplay from Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. That is like my all-time favorite Zelda game, and my all-time favorite Zelda character. Also, it was my first time making armor, because usually, and I'm in no way, there's no rules to cosplay, in my opinion. Usually the suits, we don't make those, we buy them. We buy the pattern, we get them commissioned. Same with most morph suit cosplays are like that. So it's still really fun to wear, but to build that cosplay, it was so rewarding. Certainly there were still things that I purchased for it, and I don't feel one way or the other about doing that, but being able to like build armor and then make it functional and like relatively comfortable. And then we did it around Halloween. Our wonderful friend Chris is such a talented photographer. I mean, he blows my mind every time he takes pictures of anything. And so to work with him, and like he and I having the same vision, and then like I still, whenever someone's like, "Oh, you cosplay? Can I see one of your pictures?" Those are the pictures I pull up because I'm so proud of them. Plus, he brought like smoke bombs to one of our shoots, and it was funny. We did it in a state park. Oh my gosh, I hope we don't get in trouble. I'm saying this. We did it in a state park near our house, and obviously, like all the smoke from the smoke bombs, like it was smoky. And so one of the park rangers pulled over and was like, "Hey, do you guys see that smoke?" And we were like, "What smoke?" Okay, we have to go by. And then all three of us kind of sped walk to our car. But the photos are incredible, and such a fond memory, because Halloween, I mean, hey, cosplayers, that's our favorite day. I mean, I'm not going to make it generalizations, but it's certainly our favorite day of the year. Like better than a birthday. And fall is my favorite season. So it was like the culmination of like all wonderful things. Those are, for me, it's definitely Fierce Deity.
My sister Liv and I have coined, I don't know if we've coined the term, but in our group we call it a comfort cosplay. It's what we will go to regardless. That's one, even I find myself packing it even if I don't wear it, just because I'm like, oh, I want it. I don't know if I can go to a convention without having the option of having it. And that's my PS4 Spider-Man one. That one is just, I feel good about that one. I really love it. I have a lot of really fun memories in it. It's very comfortable. It's a fan favorite just because people love PS4 Spider-Man, the game, so they get excited when they see the colors. I love the colors of it. So that definitely is a real favorite of mine, just based on just memory and just the fact that normally, and it's, poor thing's old and a bit worn down, so I'm thinking I'm probably going to have to order another one, just because that one is starting to, it's seen a lot of cons, and the poor thing's been washed many times, and I think it might just be time to hang that one up for just for the memories. But it is definitely my comfort cosplay. I typically, even if it's not in my lineup for a convention, I tend to bring it along just because I love having it there in case I decide that I want to use it. And then one that I wouldn't wear unless it was for a very specific convention or a specific shoot, but I have a lot of fun in, is the swamp benders from Avatar. We normally Liv and I pick characters, and we put ourselves in these very powerful poses, and there's a lot of seriousness when it comes to the images. That one, we just had so much fun. We had so much fun. We had people, when we did it in the same state park, and when we were taking the photos, one of the things by the river people like to do is they'll sit in inner tubes and just float down the river. We had people going, "Are you from Avatar?" Which is just like, and then when we said yes, there was like excitement chatter in groups being like, "Oh my gosh, I knew it, I told you," or "Oh my gosh, that's so cool," that kind of thing. So that was just just how goofy we got to be in those, and just so much fun. And again, Chris, he's our primary photographer. He did a
And
great,
friend.
and friend. He did a great job, and definitely was great, very patient with Liv and I getting a little bit silly during halfway through the shoot and hiking with us into the woods and down to the river and everything. So that one definitely, although I would only wear that at a maybe a water park convention, I would that is definitely a favorite of mine now. Those leaf hats are awesome.
Yeah, they're great.
Now, I did have a question about the Fierce Deity link. With the contacts that you're wearing, can you see out of them?
Yeah, so I'm actually like uh very very nearsighted. Like that's the right term, right? I can hardly see in front of my face unless my hand is super close. So I got prescription, which I'm really grateful for. So I would say it's like you can see out of it, but it's kind of hazy. Like it's like there's some fog over your eyes. And I see better when it's actually dark. I think because it allows my pupils to get larger to let more light in. If it's bright outside, it certainly does not help. So I don't think, we Liz and I like to call it like, is it your photo shoot cosplay, or is it your like on the con floor cosplay? Because when we first started, we were definitely like, oh, we're gonna bring everything to conventions, and then we'd be walking around with like the massive sword or the huge wings or something like that, and it was never it was fun, but oh my gosh, like the amount of times we would get like whacked or whack other people accidentally. So now I would say like I don't plan on bringing that full cosplay to a convention necessarily because I don't want to be a risk to myself and other people. But yeah, you can absolutely see out of them. It's just definitely like you're a little encumbered. So I would, or you're a little I would be careful. To put it simply,
You,
just
you
be
might,
careful.
as Liv and I joke, we will, since it is nice to have the duo. Sometimes there's, if one of us has a more complicated cosplay than the other one kind of assumes the role as the handler, as in like I'm going to
Hmm.
lead you through this mob of people, or I'm going to hold your bag or your water bottle, or whatever merch you purchased while someone takes your photo. Which is nice because I have definitely seen some cosplayers who are walking in the con floor with a full suit of armor, a shield and sword, and their all their purchases, and then someone asks for a photo, and they're just the poor person is just like trying to juggle all these things. Um, so definitely we have decided, at least for our own comfort and our own convenience, that there are photo shoot cosplays and there are con floor cosplays, and then there are ones that can be both.
Yeah.
And the contacts ones definitely are for the photo shoots only, because you
Yeah.
can only limit so much time your eyes are that deeply covered.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, how well do the spider suits handle, like, I guess, wear and tear? Because at times, like, I'm like, dang, like, with all the flexing and bending and everything, I almost picture it like ripping, but it seems like that they hold up well.
Yeah, so I would say they hold up well. The only things they're impervious to is like if you're on like asphalt, they can pill, like because they get kind of caught
Hmm.
on it. Also, and I'm sure any like morph suit cosplayer will tell you this. There are cold spots in that suit, so if there's a cold wind, you're like, oh my gosh, why are like my elbows suddenly like freezing? Like there's always one spot on or a few spots on that cosplay that have like no coverage at all. I remember one time, I think it was for KatsuCon. We went outside to take some pictures, and oh my gosh, was it cold! Like we were, you're fully covered, but not really. It's like wearing
Right.
like PJs essentially. But yeah, it they're comfy, but they're not necessarily like warm.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I would say also the fingers, typically, because you're touching a lot of things and your fingers are gloved, those typically can have a little bit of some fading. The bottoms of the morph suit where your feet are typically will sometimes have some wear and tear on them, just because there's that constant rubbing and friction there.
Hmm.
Um, we we're pretty gentle with our morph suits, just because we want them to last as long as possible. So we always wash them gently. We always use softer, less harsh detergents on them. We will spot clean them along with deep cleaning them, depending on the length of the wear. If it was for just a 15-minute shoot, it's a spot clean. If it's you're there you've worn it all weekend, it's getting a deep clean when you get home. That sort of thing. And we keep them in the packaging and then we also find that putting a dryer sheet in there with them helps them, from getting that kind of stale plasticky smell out. But we're pretty it's fun to run around and pretend to jump on walls and things like that, and they hold up pretty well. But we also know to be gentle with them as well, since they are a thin piece of fabric that holds a lot of sentimental value to us.
Now I got two questions because I know we're running a little bit over. The first question is as we start wrapping things up is you've debuted some original characters, and I'm just curious as to how they came about and how you designed them.
Thank you for asking. We're very excited about them. They're very fun. Truthfully, there's a wonderful horn designer on Instagram. She may have other social medias, but I follow her on Instagram. I think it's Storyteller Cosplay. And so she designs these beautiful different sized horns. So we got the Ani sized horns. And when I originally wanted to buy them, I was like, I kind of want to build some characters around them. So it was one of those, as we've discussed, like conversations before, where I came to Liz and I said, hey, do you like these horns? Like, do you want to make maybe some like OCs for them? And so we sat down and we started talking about who they would be and what their names would be, and what kind of characters and creatures would they be. And then they arrived in the mail, and it was just love at first sight. And then our wonderful friend Chris was like, hey, I'll take some pictures of them. And so there's like some Ren fairs that are going to happen this fall. So we're hoping to bring them there because they'll fit perfectly into that. But yeah, they're my babies right now. I love them so much.
Yes, as Liv was saying, it was definitely something that she approached me about, and I just found them absolutely stunning. And then again, because we like doing almost mirror images of each other, she said, I really think it'd be fun to do deities of the moon, and then we could do moon phases. And then as we're sitting there, this is kind of stuff where if we're running errands together, spending time together, we're just driving around in the car listening to music, and then we're just coming up with certain little tidbits of lore. We were even joking with Chris at the time. We're like, it's really hard to pose for these characters because they're of our design, so we can't really bounce ideas off of the photographer because Chris didn't fully know the characters yet, and we didn't fully know the characters yet. We're still coming up with things and learning about them as we make final touches on how we want the makeup to look and how we want the outfits to look and how kind of what little trinkets and things that we're going to put on them. So they're definitely evolving. But it's been a really fun journey, and everyone's been so receptive to it, which not to say that I'm surprised. It's more just I am surprised, honestly. I don't feel like a lot of OCs typically get a lot of love. Not saying that they shouldn't or they should. It's just people like, this is so cool. I love this idea and I love this character. And I'm like, oh my goodness, thank you.
Yeah,
like,
it's very sweet and humbling.
It is very humbling, and we're very honored that the people that peek in at what we do every now and then are very receptive to it. And it got a lot more reactions than I was anticipating. I thought it would be some of our friends would be like, oh, this is cool, I like it. Are you gonna go wear this at the Ren Fair? And we go, yeah, we are. But people are a lot more excited about it and want to learn more. So
yeah. And you're welcome to join us. Like, let's all be really cool.
That's an open invitation to anyone who's listening. Anyone, if you want to join in on this lore of deities and spirits and or worshipers or gods or something like that,
or arch nemesis.
Yeah, exactly. Anything, we're down. It's an open invitation if we can join.
Yeah, super fun.
Just tag us so we know.
The last question I always ask for cosplayers is, everyone has a list. It's the list of what they're working on or what they'd like to do, whether it's this year or next year. Do you have a list what's on your list? What cosplays would you both like to do in the future?
Oh my gosh, I it's funny as you were saying that I was like, I'm gonna pull up my list. I'm not gonna name all of them, and truthfully, we have some things in the works, but because we're both novices in some of these areas, we don't want to like announce them yet because
Hmm.
we don't want to like create excitement for ourselves and others, and then people being like, "Where is it?" And us being like, "We didn't
It,
finish it."
it's in the garbage. We had to give up on it. We ran out of like either supplies or funds or both.
Yeah, but right now, I think Nazca's definitely there. I would really like to do Obi-Wan. I want to like learn. I did it in college, but I want to do it again. Learn how to lay a beard and like do real Obi-Wan. I think that would be really fun. And then this is really weird, but if anyone's seen the trailer for the new Breath of the Wild 2, the
Hmm.
stone talus has like uh it has like a base built on top of it, and I would so love to do like a stone talus like cosplay somehow and like build a little base on my shoulders and head. Like I'm gonna think about it. Maybe I can figure that out. But those are right now. It's definitely and then some maybe some Jujutsu Kaisen characters. That would be really fun too.
Yeah, I would definitely say Jujutsu Kaisen has definitely captured my attention and my imagination. There's a lot of characters that I've been looking at. Not quite sure if I've narrowed one down yet, but there are a few that I'd be interested in uh, creating a cosplay for. There are a couple others from the Marvel world that I would be interested in doing. More just uh, the time and then the funding are things that are kind of holding me back a little bit with that one. But a Captain America, love Captain America, so I'd love to do a Captain America cosplay or a Gladiator Thor cosplay. I did a bathing suit version for a Colossal Con East a couple of years ago. Would love to do the full one just because that one absolutely captures my imagination, and I love that film. I love that film.
Mhm.
Other than that, a lot of them are just like little mini cosplays that I've talked about with friends. We were all joking the other day about doing like small side characters from Zelda, and we were all throwing like 1,000,010 names out. So that's like a baby works in the works, and the works might not even happen. It's very very much in the beginning stages where we're just kind of more musing about it. So I'm definitely more of the my Liv is definitely more organized about these things. She's definitely more like we're gonna plan this out, and I'm more just like, oh great, yeah, perfect, let's do it. She's definitely the I would say the backbone of the two of us, where it's like we're gonna do this one and we're gonna do it this way, and I'm just excited. I'm just jazzed to be here. I'm just excited to do it, that sort of thing. And then
You're glad you got the invitation.
exactly, I'm glad that she still wants to cosplay with me, even if sometimes I'm throwing things together last minute.
Every day, all day. It's a blast.
Yep.
For people that have listened to this episode and they are asking themselves, "Dang, I'd really like to check out these pictures or see what you both are up to." Where can they find you out there on the internet?
Well, first of all, thank you, listeners, that you're interested. That's very sweet. You can find us on primarily Instagram right now at DoubleTrouble.Cosplay. And from there, you can find our other socials. I don't really necessarily want to name them just because I've not been good about keeping up with them. But yeah, that's our primary social, and just drop us a comment or a DM, and we tend to be pretty good about getting back to people. We like to just chat shop. We enjoy all of this. Very excited to meet other people who enjoy it as well.
Yeah, I would say our Instagram is definitely a place to go, and we have a link tree for other things. But again, that if you wanna be able to connect with us or chat a little bit, talk about cosplay, talk about Avatar, talk about the weather, where that's where you can contact us, is our Instagram.
Wonderful. Well, I'll have the link in the show notes and on the Facebook page and website. So that way, if you have listened to Liv and Liz and you want to check out their work, just click on it and go and follow them. At least follow them. Then you got to do the algorithm stuff. Like and share and comment, so that way more people can find them. Because that's how I found you all, is just randomly. I believe at one point someone shared your work, or I just happened to stumble across it, and here we are.
I know, I'm so glad we met you. This has been so much fun. Thank you so much for having us. This
Yeah.
has been like the highlight of my week.
Yes, the anticipation has built. As I said earlier, we've been very excited to do this. It's been an honor and a privilege to be a part of this, group, and to be able to chat with you this evening.
Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
you took the words out of my mouth, because I was going to say almost exactly the same thing, but in a different order and way. But it was absolutely my pleasure to have you both on. Thank you so much for sharing your time with me today.
Absolutely. And thank you for giving us the opportunity to talk an unhealthy amount about Mad Max Fury Road,
Yes.
particularly, as well as other interests. It's been a blast. It's been fun to do that again.
Thank you for listening to Tales from the Fandom. Subscribe to us on iTunes or your podcast app of choice. Follow us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/Tales from the Fandom to see photos, links, leave feedback, and check out upcoming guests. If you'd like to be a guest, email David at talesfromthefandom@gmail.com.